But anyhow, Danny Morales representing the Soda City Alliance of Braver Angels. My counterpart and partner in crime is Karen Brown. We both co-chair the Soda City Alliance. Alliance is just the Braver Angels lingo for a local chapter because it involves somebody that typically votes Democrat, or what we affectionately refer to as leans blue, and somebody that leans red, coming together in cooperation to further the Braver Angels mission to reduce toxic polarization in politics and really in all of life. It's not really just for elections, but at all times, right? At the Thanksgiving dinner table, any social activity. We've become quite bad at handling political conversations broadly, right? So enough about that. Can anybody guess what the Merriam-Webster Dictionary word of the year was for 2024? Well, many of you who know me, or if you live and breathe this work of civic renewal, already know the answer. The word was polarization. Merriam-Webster defines polarization as division into two sharply distinct opposites, especially a state in which opinions, beliefs, or interests of a group of society no longer range on a continuum, but become concentrated at opposing extremes. Effective polarization, which is really what Braver Angels mission is about fighting, is even more dangerous. It's used to describe the sociological phenomenon of people seeing their neighbors who hold a different partisan affiliation or political identity as increasingly ignorant, pitiful, and eventually evil. This phenomenon has given rise to too many politicians and pundits who are too eager to write off broad swaths of everyday Americans, your neighbors, your coworkers, your relatives, as Nazis, commies, deplorables, unpatriotic, people who somehow love America but hate democracy, or love democracy but hate America. Can you hear the absurdity, the irony? Now more than ever, effective polarization has come to the forefront as a social pathology that has led us to have a less effective government, less good candidates, less substantive platforms, and less issue-focused discourse. We're all familiar with what polarization has given us, so I wanted to start off with what we've lost. Because sadly, what we've lost goes back beyond most of our recent memory, when political discourse was more civil, more substantive, and more issue-driven and issue-focused. Today, effective polarization, fueled by pundits on both the left and right, has led us to a place of what, this isn't my terminology, a place of cold civil war. A war of animosity and alienation in both thought and words among people who should be family, friends, and neighbors. These conflict entrepreneurs who profit off fear and rage get further amplified by both big tech algorithms and our legacy media, who instead of resisting the impulse to further polarize, are too busy fighting for clicks and subscriptions to care about the fact that they're pouring gasoline on the fire, burning down any final vestige of social cohesion in our country. In a time where we need coalition building and developing substantive polity platforms more than ever, polarization has made our politics focused entirely on constant smear campaigns and pandering to the most fanatical 20% of each major party's voter base. This, my friends, is how time and time again we get to elections we are voting for fill in the blank. That's right, the lesser of two evils. We've all heard that a bunch today, haven't we? Isn't it sad how we already knew that answer? So what does this have to do with instant runoffs? Actually, more than you'd think. You see, we've already seen elections where the most polarizing candidates, both Democrats and Republicans, have been defeated by candidates who do the classic work of politics, building strong, diverse coalitions that appeal to a true majority of voters that they represent. Imagine that, having elected officials that actually represent more than just the most fanatical and partisan 20% of the electorate. Unheard of. Imagine an election season characterized by real substantive conversations with candidates focused on their vision for the future and what they will do in office, rather than their opponent this, their opponent that, he said, she said, blah, blah, blah. Imagine an election season where respectful disagreement focused on issues as the main course instead of the usual mudslinging and tabloid highlight reels. Instant runoff voting, by forcing candidates to remember they're competing not just for their loyal base, but for all voters as their second, third, fourth, etc. choice is a powerful force for good in fighting effective polarization. And we need all the help we can get. At Brave Rangers, we believe that effective polarization is the issue of our day, and we need an all-hands-on-deck approach to steer our nation away from further political violence, terrorism, or worse. I don't speak for Braver Angels as an organization, but I will say this. It's creative policies that reform and improve our electoral process, like assessing the fallout of Citizen United, outlawing gerrymandering and instant runoff voting, that can make the most change the fastest. Just like years ago when we had the innovations of the town hall, ballot referendums, or most recently, the rise of citizen assemblies. Our country deserves it, our state deserves it, every voter deserves it. Most importantly, our children and grandchildren certainly deserve it. I believe we have the opportunity today to come together and rewrite the narrative. We can reset the course we've been on that has led us to where we are today. Reforms like instant runoff voting are some of the first steps in the right direction. Rank the vote, folks. Save our country. Thank you.